Hello, and welcome to today's episode of We Used to Be Journos. Happy Wednesday to you, or happy whatever day you are listening to this podcast. It is the podcast where two media insiders break down broken news. I am one of those media insiders. My name is Fran, and I am with Antoinette Latouf. Hello, Antoinette. You have been very busy and tired.
I have been doing lots of different speaking events and travel, which is all wonderful, but not when you're like bolting from one event to the other because you're going to miss one. But I did have an experience where an Etterati came to the rescue. I had to get from one event to the other, and this person was wearing a "It's a No From Me" t-shirt, had identified themselves as an Etterati and came up and said, "Do you want a lift to your next speaking event?"
Really?
Yeah, and then I was like, sure. I just made a quick decision. I'm like, they must be a decent person. They identified as an Etterati. They certainly don't want to kidnap me or kill me. And it was literally the t-shirt that got me over the line. That's all it takes really to get me to jump into a car with you.
Are you wearing the right merch? Yes, no. Let's go.
No, thank you very much to Sir Paulette and her partner James, because they zoomed me over and got me to my next destination right on time.
That's unreal. Speaking of Etteratis, I was strolling my kid the other day in the neighbourhood, minding my own business, and I got stopped by a gentleman who said, "Oh my God, I'm an Etterati." And he said that before he even said hello, before he even introduced himself. And I thought, okay, well, that's nice.
That's really cute.
It's a thing. It's a thing in the wild. So shout out to Pabloette, who is, he said to me, and I've now got this on record, that he is going to buy the shirt. He's like, I haven't bought the shirt yet, but I am going to buy the shirt. So there you go. You too can offer a lift to Antoinette Latouf if you buy that shirt right now from etmedia.com.
And who knows what I would do if you were to buy tickets to our live show.
Oh, God.
Like, if I do that for a t-shirt, what would I do if people buy tickets to our live show?
Well, let's not linger too long on that question, I think.
I mean, there's only one way to find out what I would do if you buy a ticket. So why not head to the link in our show notes, also on our social media. We are touring in February next year, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane and Canberra. And very soon we're going to announce, Jan, who our special interview guests are, who our musicians, our poets, our comedians. It's going to be awesome. So grab one of those tickets and who knows what I'll do.
Well, you'll put on a good show is what you'll do.
I mean, that part.
And that's not a euphemism. I mean that literally. Okay. There's too many innuendos in this intro. We need to move on.
Yes. Sure.
What is in the show today?
Okay. As always, we'll start with our no's because that is the way we are wired. My no goes to a newspaper that not only breached its AI policy, the hilarious part is it published the ChatGPT prompt in the actual printed article for everybody to see.
We love that. Okay. My no goes to me being shadowbanned by Meta. Okay. Well, actually,
the no doesn't go to you.
No, it's not to me. It goes to Meta for shadow banning me.
Yes.
And me not being able to work out whether, in fact, I have been shadow banned because you never get told about this stuff. So I think my no is for shadow banning in general, which we're going to unpack a little bit more because there's some things that you need to know about the shadow ban.
Indeed. And our big chat in the second half of the show, we look at how the Daily Telegraph, Sky News and Seven all whipped up a frenzy about a new mosque. But there's something very interesting, something very telling about this so-called new mosque.
Yeah, well, it doesn't exist is the main thing.
Yeah, that is the main thing. But we also unpack how we reckon some players in this storytelling knew, or they had an inkling something wasn't just right, and then continued because the narrative was just too irresistible.
Yes, this is a story that landed specifically in our lap.
Yeah.
And as always, we kind of tugged on a few threads and some things just, as you say, did not quite stack up. So I cannot wait to unpack that one with all of you. That's coming up a little bit later. And after that, we will do our yeses from me. You have a yes. I have a yes.
Yes, I have a yes, but also I can't wait to hear more about a group of Australians, including some very high-profile Aussies, some you probably wouldn't expect, who've gotten together and they've lodged a complaint which has been accepted by the Human Rights Commission, which will now investigate a bunch of News Corp personalities for their abysmal coverage
of Gaza.
Oh, okay. I was trying to just tease that one out, but yes, of Gaza.
Oh, yes. Okay. And my yes Well, it starts as a no and then becomes a yes, which
Okay.
is usually happens the other way around for me, doesn't it?
True,
I
yes.
start positive and then devolve very quickly. But no, this centers around something that I spotted in an ABC article a couple of days ago around a far right rally. The yes is not about that. The yes is about how I came to spot this in the article.
Okay.
Which, again, we'll unpack a little bit later. But first, let us get into our no's. My no. Let's start with me. Are we starting? Am I starting?
Let's
I'll
do
start.
it.
All right. So my no comes to us courtesy of Meta, as I said, for shadow banning me to the point where I was forced to get my norks out for everyone on Instagram.
But it worked.
Did you enjoy my norks?
I did. You know what? This is how I came across it. Somebody said to me, "Where's Jan at the moment?" And I was like, I don't know, at home. They're like, "No, she's in the snow in a swimsuit." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I mean, that does sound like something Jan would do. And then I went onto your Instagram and saw that you are indeed in a delicious one piece, knee deep in snow.
Little did everybody know that I was, in fact, in my home, probably in my kitchen doing chores. And that image was actually from 5 years ago. So let me tell you, my tits are about 20% lower and my hair's about 5% thinner. I was not in the snow. But the reason that I posted that image, right, is because I had started to notice a few things happening on my Instagram account, which was that my posts were just not being seen as much as what they used to be. And especially my stories. You know, like
Yes,
how many people view your stories. Like generally
Broadly
you have
speaking,
a vibe, right? The viewership started to drop and I started thinking like, what is going on here? Something is a bit weird. And I was speaking to a mate of mine who is also having this issue. Anytime he posts anything about, surprise, Gaza, it doesn't travel. And he said, well, the way around it is you've got to post a thirst trap.
Yeah, Jamila Jamil does this often.
Really?
She'll just talk about like Trump or fascism and like wobble her boobs, and she's like tricky. She's trying to trick she calls it algorithm daddy while she shakes her. She's like, "So algorithm daddy," and then she talks about what the fuck she wants to talk about.
Okay,
which is a shit state of affairs. But go on.
Well, I mean, it's got to be at least the 8th circle of hell. Would you say? But so the point was that when I was talking to my mate, he's like, "Do that." So I'm like, all right, cool. I will post a thirst trap.
Yeah. And it worked though, because all of a sudden you got all of these engagements and like last time I checked hundreds and hundreds of comments.
Right. And there's something about, posting a thirst trap for a thirst trap's sake and saying, hi, I've been shadow banned. Here's a thirst trap. And all the people who love you will interact with it. So there is some kind of skewing of the algorithm.
Sure.
But there were so many people in there who were like, this is at the top of my feed. I haven't seen you in ages. And suddenly there you are.
Yeah.
So something weird is happening with the shadow banning.
And this is a peculiar thing about shadow banning. The word gets thrown around. Sometimes it can be difficult to define it. So I reckon we should try and put some parameters around it. So simply put, shadow banning is when a platform, it reduces the visibility of content, and that's doing so without alerting the user. So the content is usually still up and able to be accessed, but something shady is going on with how it circulates and who can see it. And shadow bans used to mean something different. Like around early 2000, 2001, 2002, shadow ban was used as a moderation technique.
2001? What are you talking about?
Let me finish. Shadow banning, the term, it was for chat forums. So people would get booted out and their thread deleted. And so that term was for a while lingered. So when the big social platforms would say, we're not shadow banning, some researchers and academics came and pushed back and go, well, you're saying that you're not kicking someone out of a chat forum, and that's not what we're talking about. So the definition has evolved.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I mean, the thing with the shadow ban is that you're A, not told that anything's happening, and B, when you approach the platforms about it, they're like, no, we don't shadow ban.
Yes.
We don't do shadow banning.
Yes.
So it's very hard to prove, but there are some documented cases of platforms limiting reach. And there was one case in particular in 2019, and I remember this because I followed quite a few of these people, but there were like kind of sex workers and pole dancers that would post videos and photographs of themselves on Instagram, and they noticed that their content just wasn't getting the reach that it used to get. And so a bunch of them, and I mean like tens of thousands signed a petition pushing back on Instagram saying like, what are you doing with our content? People are not seeing it in the way that they used to. And then Instagram directly apologized to them and said like, yeah, we had blocked a number of hashtags. They said, quote unquote, in error, which is something that pops up quite a bit when it comes to the shadow ban.
Well, if it's not an error, then it could well be a technical glitch, because that was the terminology used or the excuse proffered by TikTok after it issued a groveling apology. And that was in 2020 because of the Black Lives Matter movement. A whole bunch of creators and activists and people with big online presence was like, hold a second, all of my videos about George Floyd, all the protests, something dodgy is going on. So TikTok was like, we're very sorry. That was a technical glitch, everybody.
And then interestingly, in 2023, Human Rights Watch had found that Meta was shadow banning content about Palestine. And there were folks that approached Meta about it. And Meta said, we have got a bug in the system. So an error, a technical glitch, a bug, you start to see a little bit of a pattern. And all of these cases were found out only because people pushed back, right? Like there was, they approached the platforms, were like, what the hell is going on? And now I think shadow banning is in the consciousness to the point where like the head of Instagram has to kind of specifically address it. And he's made a couple of videos about this. And he's like, look, if you think you're shadow banned, here are a couple of things you can do, like check your account status, experiment with the content, things change all the time. But there was one particular thing that he said that kind of caught my attention, and it was this.
Check out our recommendability guidelines. I'll put a link in the bio to make sure you're not getting caught up in any issues that are sort of borderline.
Right? Check out our recommendability guidelines so you're not getting caught up in any issues that are borderline.
I don't know what that means.
So I checked the recommendability guidelines.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of stuff that says, we don't recommend content that promotes self-harm or that plugs banned substances and products or like is violent content. And I'm like, okay, that
sounds fair.
That sounds fair and reasonable. But then there was one, a slightly lower, that said that we don't recommend unoriginal content that is largely repurposed from another source without adding material value, which kind of seems like an innocuous little point about the content that they don't recommend, except that it reminded me of a post that I had seen very recently from an account called Shit You Should Care About. Do you know that account?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, Slow Factory. Do you know Slow Factory?
No.
So Slow Factory is sort of like news, political commentary, activism, similar-ish vibe to Shit You Should Care About. Not exactly the same, but similar. Anyway, Shit You Should Care About posted something on their Instagram. This was maybe a couple of weeks ago now, saying, I just got an email that Instagram is cracking down on third-party content, aka lots of the stuff that Shit You Should Care About relies to get the news to you. So I thought, isn't that interesting that is part of their recommendability guidelines?
Yeah.
Where they say that if you repurpose something from another source without adding material value.
Which is usually like a news source or a press conference or something of Trump or whatever.
Exactly. So it's not necessarily nefarious. Like they're saying, hey, this is one of the things that we're not going to recommend. But then who gets to determine what is, quote unquote, adding material value or not? Well, it's entirely up to the platforms.
Yeah. And I think like for audiences, I mean, obviously it's annoying for your followers who don't get your content as much, but just for newsrooms who rely so much on Facebook and Instagram for referrals. And by referrals, it's like, here's a little spiel, click on here to read the article or watch the video. Depending on how the shadow banning is working and what topics are being shadow banned, you know how it works with an editor. You go and pitch this story and they'll be like, oh, but last time we put it on Instagram, it didn't travel well. And particularly the commercial outlets and sometimes even ABC and SBS, they still care about metrics and reader engagement or user engagement. They're like, oh, it didn't travel very well. So we're not going to do that more tricky story or that Gaza story or whatever because, last time it only got 20% or whatever of the clips, the clicks of something like Kim Kardashian or whatever. And so then it becomes this loop of topics that just aren't being covered.
And then from the guidelines, this is in addition, they said like, not only do we kind of recommend content that, is repurposed from another source, but we also don't recommend accounts that recently shared content we try not to recommend. So it's like, okay, are you saying that you don't recommend content from an account that might share something from shit that you care about? Do you know what I mean? If you suddenly shared a post from Slow Factory or shit that you care about, does that mean that your account will no longer be recommended?
Right, okay.
So it has this kind of flow-on effect.
But some tips for audiences about, if they want to continue to engage with this content. I did have a little look around. Search via hashtags if you want a certain topic, like look via hashtags. Don't just rely on your feed. I tend to, I don't know about you, just kind of scroll in my feed, so actively search. Put people in your favorites list is another way to help them come up, or actually look people up by their name. That apparently gives the algorithm a little reset if people actually type in Jan Fran as opposed to just seeing you in their feed.
But there was also so many instances where people were like, I typed in your name and you didn't come up. That also happens.
Okay.
So that's another thing to be aware of. One way to get around that is just to stick, if you want to search for me, for example, just put my name in Google with the word Instagram after it. And then my Instagram account should come up rather than searching.
It shouldn't be that hard,
I know,
right?
It should not be. It's so laborious.
Yeah.
It's so laborious and there's like almost no recourse for it. But the other thing is like if there's a certain creator or an account that you like, just try and follow them on their own platform if they have one.
Yeah.
Honestly, like that is just the clearest way to connect with the people that you want to follow, which is kind of to cut out the middleman of social media. Can't happen entirely. But
yes, but you're not completely beholden to the algorithm. And so, that's why for us, our subscribers have a direct line to us where we can land in their inbox.
Yeah.
And Zuckerberg doesn't decide.
Yeah.
How and when you see our stuff.
I promise this was not supposed to be a plug.
I mean, it was for me.
I mean,
it
okay,
was for
yeah,
you.
good.
Maybe you didn't have those intentions. This was your no, but I've jumped in.
Yeah. And look, just keep an eye out for more pictures of my tits. Coming at you weekly.
In the meantime. Okay, so my no, it's a bit more of a, oh my God, how embarrassment. Also, this was bound to happen. And I guess I want to talk about it because we're going to see more of it. And that is ChatGPT or AI prompts landing in the copy of articles. And so this happened in Pakistan's biggest newspaper, Dawn. It is the country's leading English language daily. And it was just an article about a car sale. So it was a car sales news report. And down the bottom, it has the prompt. It says, if you want, I can also create an even snappier front page style version. Do you want me to do that next? The hilarious thing is not that somebody tried to use ChatGPT, but it stayed in the article. Then it somehow got sub-edited and then it got printed because they changed the online copy as soon as they found out or users alerted to it. And Dawn does also call itself the most trusted daily newspaper in Pakistan.
Yeah. I love when things end up in print. Like it's so old school. You can't change that, baby.
I know.
That's in all the newsagents now. Everyone gonna see it. Because I saw this and I know that the newspaper issued an official response from the editor saying that the report had originally been edited using AI, which interestingly was against their current policy.
Yes.
So not sure why that's happening in the first place. And then they put their policy online.
Yes.
And they were like, this is our policy.
Yeah.
We broke it, but here it is.
Yeah, and I think that's the peculiar thing because, not the peculiar thing, but they do have a policy, not just a policy, a very detailed policy. And the policy includes things like no AI based fact checking. Anytime AI is used, it has to be transparent to the readers and a human does all the final checks if AI is used. And then there's also privacy will be upheld and so on and so forth. So there's clearly been a couple of breaches of the AI policy there. And it also kind of made me think maybe how much do you use AI? And I think media needs an AI policy, not one that we're going to break, but like an actual AI policy to be transparent about how and when we use it.
I mean, we full disclosure, we use some degree of AI to edit the show. I mean, the show is made predominantly by humans.
Yes.
But we do use a program to cut together an hour's worth of footage. And do you know how long it takes to cut together 3 cameras and an hour's worth of footage? Oh my God, the editors are going to fucking die when they hear this.
Yeah.
How long do you reckon it takes?
20 minutes.
Our editor's right here, actually. I'm going to ask him. You guys can't see him off camera, but I'm going to ask him. Lockie, how long does it take you to cut an hour's worth of footage from 3 cameras using our AI software?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. So the answer was 3 minutes.
3 minutes?
No, but that's to sync all the cameras together. That's not to go through and cut all the edit. 3
It's
minutes.
to cut, baby.
Oh, okay, it is to cut. Okay.
Yes.
Well, there we are. There's a bit of disclosure for you guys.
Before the all AI came into this, like how long would it have taken an editor to do that like 5 years ago? Come on.
At least a few hours, I would say.
Definitely a few hours.
So, okay. Oh, my God.
So we use it. And clearly it's to our advantage. And the funny thing is that one time I was sitting on a panel and we were talking about news and AI and, you know, some of the ramifications of it. And I mentioned this on the panel, and I kid you not, the most questions that I got after the panel were...
What was the program?
What was the program?
I know. And look, I was... It's this really tricky space because there are ethical considerations that we need to contend with. It's one of those things where I think a lot of people are going to act now and feel the ramifications later when it's too embedded in their workflow. So I was at a Canva AI event last week where we were talking about, you know, managing time and productivity, but also weighing up the ethics and AI first businesses and blah, blah, blah. And I just really think it's one of those things where you need to make a conscious effort about how you are going to use it and understanding the cost to the environment, the ethical costs, the staff costs. But that made me also have a look around and say, who else has an AI policy? So the ABC has a really comprehensive one.
Okay.
You know, very, very comprehensive. We are going to inform our audiences. We'll be able to explain how the AI works. We will not use AI in ways that could mislead our audiences. And another important point is about the ABC wanting to mitigate biases, because one of the concerns about AI is that it reinforces entrenched biases. And it just made me think, okay, so they're very, very comprehensive, but I wonder who is looking closely and who is really going to be, like, when you're going to be transparent about it. Like, for example, I'll come up with a headline or a name for this show, for the episode, and I'll pop it through ChatGPT to get four more options. Am I really going to go, hey, audience, this headline
has been generated by a computer?
We fed it the information and then it gave us 4 snappier options. Are we really going to? I don't think people are going to be that transparent.
Yeah. To what extent? Exactly. That's a very good question. There was some back in August. This is the other thing, because you can say that we guard against this stuff as much as possible. Yeah. Earlier this year, there was a bunch of outlets that published like AI-generated articles from just like a fictitious reporter. And one of those...
Oh, yes. Is that the freelance reporter?
Yes, there was
it
a freelance called Margot Blanchard.
I mean, that is not... Margot Blanchard?
Who are we to say that name is an AI name? Okay. But there was like one particular article in Wired magazine called "They Fell in Love Playing Minecraft, Then the Game Became Their Wedding Venue." Which, if anybody ever reads Wired magazine, like, you know, Wired is like very internet, very techie, very like they love this shit. This is the perfect article for Wired. So, of course, they commissioned it and then they published it and realized, oh, shit, and were very embarrassed that this AI article got through, because Wired, of all places, should know better.
Right. It wasn't just Wired. This Margot got published in a whole bunch of outlets. She was she, whatever, was a very prolific and well-published writer. And the stories didn't exist. Look, Margot's career only lasted a few months before the non-existent person was exposed. But there's been other examples. Chicago Sun newspaper had this widely syndicated Best Summer Reads article, which a lot of the books were made up. It was generated by AI. And the author, when people started to go and look for the recommendations, they were like... And then the other outlets which
just do a Google.
The other outlets which republished these pieces were like, oh, well, we just trusted Chicago Sun.
Yeah.
Checked it. And so,
I mean, the question is, like, people who think that like newsrooms are going to eschew AI, not going to happen. It's a technology. They're going to adapt it in some way, shape or form. So I guess the question is, like, how to best proceed with this.
Yes. And yes, I think no AI is not feasible. Otherwise, you're just lying. There was some interesting joint research between Queensland Uni, RMIT in Melbourne and Washington State Uni about tips on the way forward. One was that visual journalists need to come together to protect their jobs and craft from AI being imposed from the above. 2, that AI, like newsrooms, need clear, evolving AI rules covering use, training, privacy, bias, accountability, and audience trust. I'm yet to hear of any AI training within journalism. Have you heard of any?
No, I haven't. Not yet. I like that word evolving too, because it's constantly on the move. Yep.
Absolutely. Managers must set firm limits on when AI can replace human workers. Because, I mean, that to me is one of the biggest concerns, that with that syndicated Chicago Sun piece, which was half created by AI, they're filling up column space. And if AI is used to be more efficient and to whatever, come up with 4 different headlines for you, does that mean that journalist gets freed up to do better stuff, more investigative stuff, more, foot in the door journalism, or you're just going to make them redundant, and which is more likely to be the latter?
Yeah. That's the big question,
That's the big question. People are like, it makes us more productive. It's so great.
Yeah.
And it's
does more productive mean like better, higher quality work, or does more productive just mean less workers?
I think it just means less workers. So unless it means like we're going to do more investigative stuff, more local reporting, more regional reporting, more FOI, we're going to have more time to do those laborious freedom of information applications that actually reveal things and hold power to account. One of the things also at this Canva event, there was this excellent Sydney University Business School speaker, and what she was saying was this was real tightrope between productivity and creativity, particularly for younger generations. They were going to have like 65% more time, but I can't remember the figure exactly, but quite a significant portion of a decrease in their creativity, because it will in time hamper people's ability to start from scratch and think from scratch.
That's interesting.
Develop something from scratch. So you're going to have more time, but potentially less creation.
Okay.
And she was talking about that, walking that tightrope and what that could mean for future workforces, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
For anybody who's a content creator or just is curious, there's this excellent piece of research from Pointer, which is a US not-for-profit media institute that does fact-checking and media literacy and journalism ethics training. They have a whole bunch of considerations, which we're going to pop in the show notes. And I reckon, Jan, you and I are going to have to sit down and mull over as well.
All right.
Okay.
Plenty of things to think about there. Hello, thank you for making it this far. Obviously, you enjoy our content to some extent. The way that you can ensure that our content stays in your feed is to hit that red subscribe button somewhere over here. Hit it now and make sure that you don't miss a single episode from us. Back to the show.
I can't wait to get into this next one because it is so wild.
Yes, this is a story that, as we said at the top of the show, landed in our inboxes earlier this week. And often when stories land in our inbox, we go, okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see if this is a story.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, it turns out that it is a story, particularly about the media and how it covers certain issues. So what we're going to talk about is a story about an alleged plan for a mosque to be built in the Western Sydney suburb of Fairfield, and how there was something that was not quite right about this story.
Yeah,
and
right from the beginning.
Right from the beginning.
But it did not stop the media from circling.
Did not. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. This story first appeared in the Daily Telegraph on Thursday. It was written by a journalist called James Willis, and it was called "Vacant High-Density Block of Land Could Be Site of Fairfield Mosque." Right? It was a story about land in Fairfield. For those who don't know Fairfield, it is a suburb in the western part of Sydney. It is very multicultural, and it's been described as like low socioeconomic.
Also very, very high refugee population.
High refugee population. And the story was about this block of land on this particular road that had been rezoned for high-density housing by the state government. It was Crown land, and it had been sold off, and that an organisation called the Australian Iraqi Muslim Society had plans to build a mosque on this piece of land, right?
Yeah.
How would you describe the tone of the piece?
Yeah, the too long didn't read version is that the Fairfield Mayor is very, very mad. It's supposed to be going towards housing. Fairfield needs the housing. The Mayor is very, very mad. And where is everyone going to park? And everybody's mad.
Yeah. So this thing is happening that kind of shouldn't really be happening, and it's taking good things away from the people. What is going on here, right? Now, how did the Telegraph know about this story? Well, it says in the piece that it got hold of a letter from the Australian Iraqi Muslim Society that had been letter dropped put in people's mailboxes.
And to this day, we don't know just how many letters. Was this one letter? Was there hundreds of versions of
don't
this?
know.
We cannot. All we know is that the existence of at least one letter.
Yeah.
It has a lot of text on it. Our aim in establishing this mosque is not only to create a place of worship for the Muslim community, but also to build a welcoming and inclusive space that serves the broader Fairfield community, both Muslims and non-believers alike. Right?
Yes.
But anyway, then there is a number and a person, Ahmed bin Ali Talib, and he's apparently a representative from the Australian Iraqi Muslim Society.
Yeah, and there's a logo there
Yeah.
that appears to be from the Australian Iraqi Muslim Society.
Okay.
And that was what the Daily Telegraph's piece was based on, that neighbours had copped this flyer.
So we're just doing our work, minding our own business. An email lands in our inbox. Hi, Jan and Antoinette. From someone close to the Iraqi Muslim community. They say that the story is completely false. The letter has been fabricated. The Australian Iraqi Muslim Society does not own the land, is not building a mosque, did not write the letter. That is not their number. And we thought surely the Telegraph reached out to the Australian Iraqi Muslim Society. Surely they called that number.
So there is a bit in the story where the journalist says that they did approach someone from the Islamic organisation. Here's what they said exactly. When approached for comment on Thursday, a spokesperson for the Islamic organisation offered a brief no comment. So that's what it said in the piece, right? So they seem like they have approached someone. The thing is, I spoke to someone from the Australian Iraqi Muslim Society, and they say the first they heard of it was where they started getting phone calls from people who were like, congratulations, you're building a mosque. they're like, huh? I'm sorry? Whom is building? We're building a mosque?
Oh my
so
God.
they said that nobody had reached out to them about it, right? So I reached out to James Willis, who's the journo that wrote the piece, just kind of trying to ascertain, like, okay, you say you've spoken to someone, like, do you know who it was that you've spoken to? Like, did they say anything else? Was it someone from the... Anyway, haven't heard back. So I don't know.
Oh, you haven't heard back?
I haven't heard back from him. So, like, I
Curious.
don't know who that person was that he spoke to, but
Yeah.
I called the number on the flyer. We both did. It was disconnected.
It's no number. And
So
I
it
tried to
doesn't-
find this person, this Ahmed bin Talib, and I'm like, I can't find anybody who exists in Australia with that name. Not to say, I mean, Ahmed is a very common Muslim name. I can't find any footprint of that person existing digitally in Australia.
Right. So you got this story in the telly, but do you think that if a story about a mosque being built in Western Sydney,
Rage bait.
like, do you think it's going to
bait.
stay in the telly?
Absolutely not.
Or do you think it's going to enter the Telegraph to a Sky News, mosque being built in the suburbs and taking things away from ordinary Australians, news pipeline?
Yeah.
The mayor of Fairfield, Frank Carbone, ends up on Sky News. As you say, he's very mad about it.
Yeah.
So he's ready and raring to talk. I'm going to play a snippet of the interview. It's a tiny bit long, but I want you to listen in real time to the way that they both cotton on to the fact that something about this story is not adding up, right? This happens on air.
Okay.
So just have a listen.
Okay.
This is government land. This is different to private land. You know, private land you can
Who's
sell
bought
it.
this land though, Frank?
I think we became aware of a letter being circulated by a local, it's actually from outside our area, Muslim association that wants to build a mosque. That's what we've become aware. But there's been no discussions at all with council. We know nothing about this. And that's the shame. And
But we
understand
don't
this
know
is
whether
government
this is
land.
being bought by a developer. Do we know whether it's been
Well, we
bought?
do know
Here
that
we
they're
go. Some
circulating
key
information.
questions.
No, but we do know they're circulating information saying they want a mosque on the site.
Right.
So-
But we don't know.
Oh,
I mean, if it's a developer though, if a developer's bought this, they're not going to make money out of building a mosque.
Correct?
But why would they be circulating a letter saying that a mosque's coming?
Have you heard of Microsoft Word and a printer, Frank Carboni? Because anybody can print any letter. But also it sounds like that presenter is asking sensible questions that could have been asked by a researcher or a producer
Before you
who
have
vetted
someone
the
on.
story.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And the mayor has, I don't know, access to local council to be like, hey, do you have a development application for this plot of land? What is it for?
Yeah. But I love that question. It's like, well, then why would they write a letter? And Laura Jays goes,
Yeah.
And you're like, indeed. Why would they write a letter? Anyway, so they've got some question marks quite clearly. But that didn't stop Channel 7 from not only covering the story, but really from just ratcheting up the conflict a little bit,
nice.
right? So this
Yeah.
appeared on the Channel 7 bulletin on Friday evening.
Love a bit of hysteria.
Oh, I just want you to listen to, honestly, just the opening few words of this intro. Okay, here we go.
There's a bit of divide in Sydney's southwest tonight, with news public land earmarked for housing could instead be used for a brand new mosque.
Okay.
A bit of divide.
There is a bitter divide in southwest Sydney tonight. Not just a divide, but a bitter divide. Is there? A divide between whom? So anyway, you watch the story and there is also this sort of tacit acknowledgement in the story, kind of like you had with Sky News, that something's not quite right.
There's a bunch of problems, especially mainly related to traffic.
Neighbours recently advised of the plan by the Australian Iraqi Muslim Society. A letterbox drop saying, "We are actively working to minimise any inconvenience caused."
If people are going to try to park for the mosque, where are all the school parents supposed to go?
We called the number on the flyer, but
your call could not be connected.
But we ran the story anyway. We got some parents upset about school drop-offs.
Exactly.
We called the number as well, and the number is not connected. It does not seem to be a legitimate number. And then the Australian Iraqi Muslim Society has said, this is not our number, this is not our mosque, this is not our letter.
Yeah, exactly. But like my question is, like, if you ring that number and it doesn't connect, isn't that a red flag? Because this is the entire story hinges on this letter.
Yeah.
That is what started this whole thing. And you're calling and there's no response, right? And I think with newsrooms, what like some people don't know is like when you don't get the exact thing you're looking for, you just you kind of show your workings. Like this guy did. It's like, all right, well, we didn't get an answer from the Australian Iraqi Muslim Society. That's okay. We'll just put in the story that we called and no one answered.
Yeah,
because that way we're being transparent.
I can imagine they'd be like, you've driven out all the way to Fairfield from Martin Place. You've gathered it. You've got some angry parent vox pops. You've got the mayor frothing at the mouth. You've got all of the elements. This is a good story. Never mind the facts. This is how I'd imagine it would roll. Let's just proceed.
This is how I know it rolls, because it's happened to me 1,000 times where you get out onto the scene and it's like, oh, actually, I think the story's a little bit different. They say, you've got all the elements. Let's just, we'll just be transparent about where we're at and how we found it.
And look, there are other red flags other than just the phone number. You've got the fact that the advertisement for that plot of land, it's like a level or zone 4, which is residential high density. You look at the location of it, it's about 1,500 square metres, not a big block of land to build a mosque. It's on a main road, not the type of place, because where are people going to park?
Yeah.
There are just like a number of red flags.
So if you staying with the Channel 7 story, like you had the people that were featured in it were, the mayor, very mad. He's happy to go on a rampage against the state government. So, yeah, he'll free himself up for an interview. No problem. You had 2 punters who were locals who are, very understandably concerned about the parking and where all of this is going to happen. And then you have the journalist, and then you have like a state minister. Yeah. But nowhere in the piece do you have anyone from the
alleged mosque.
From the alleged mosque. Like no one features in this piece.
This is the best. This is the actual best.
Again, I'm like, sorry, did anyone contact the Australian Iraqi Muslim Society? And I reached out to Channel 7 and I asked them that question. And like to their credit, the head of news responded and he said, we emailed an email address that we found on the Society's Facebook page. And they apparently emailed the Society on Friday asking them some questions and they didn't hear back, right?
But this is after they rang the number that didn't ring out.
Well, I don't know exactly if
or whatever,
but
these are the 2 points of contact.
Yes, yeah, these are the 2 points of contact, right?
Yes.
But the thing is, like, they also, can I just also tell you what the Channel 7 director said to me? He said that, like, yes, we contacted them via this email on their Facebook page and they didn't respond. And they also said our report was very carefully worded. It also did not say the Australian Iraqi Muslim Society bought the land.
It's like we know this story is bullshit, and so we're going to do little massages.
We're not wrong.
In the event
we're not incorrect
that it gets picked up. I'll tell you how long it took for me to find out who bought the land. 1 text message and 1 phone call to the listed real estate agent.
Yeah.
Had a good chat to Peter.
Yeah.
I was like, g'day, Peter. I told him what the deal was. He was shocked. He's like, a developer has bought it. And the developer is like, what on earth is going on? Because no developer buys a block of land to do a community service for a religious group. Just do not do that. But again, looking at the zoning, calling the estate agent, calling the council, seeing if a DA application has been put. There are so many ways that you could find that this was a fallacy.
Do you know how easy it is to find the number of a real estate agent on the internet?
They're everywhere. They're painted on like road signs and everywhere, like bus
Even
stops.
if you don't want to talk to a real estate agent, you
can
will
get
find
the
yourself
number
talking to a real estate
agent.
agent. You know what I mean? They're very responsive people.
Yes.
So, yeah, it wouldn't have been that hard to do that. I understand the time constraint. Like, we've both worked in daily television news, okay? There are time constraints.
Oh, come on. I'm going to push back on that. This is not a matter of urgency. There are time constraints where it's like, this is happening today. This is of national significance. A mosque that hasn't even been built, it's a vacant block of land.
Yeah. In addition to saying all of this in their email, Channel 7 also said, from an abundance of caution, the story was removed from our social media.
Abundance of caution from that was a pile of shit. We've got to spike it.
No.
Come on. Abundance of caution. Fake flyer. Fake mosque.
Yes, but where was that abundance prior to broadcast?
Where was the abundance of fact checking?
Yes, there was
because there'd have been a little bit, even a little bit. You didn't even need an abundance. You just needed like
a little bit of caution.
fact-checking.
A little bit of caution. I suspect that somebody's gotten in touch with them after it's been broadcast and gone, yo, this is not real.
Yeah.
And that is where they suddenly found the abundance of caution.
I mean,
so it has been taken down. But I mean, like by this point, where do all good stories go to die and or catch fire? Where?
Sky News After Dark.
Sky News After Dark. Sky News After Dark. And you know that Sky News After Dark are going to give it, a very sane and factual treatment.
New South Wales, there is some madness going on. A piece of land that was
What is the madness?
rezoned to have R4 density, which is high density apartments, has been sold off. This is in the Fairfield Council area. It was sold off by the state government and bought by the Australian Iraqi Muslim Society, and is now potentially being redeveloped into a mosque.
Okay, so none of that is true. But the way she just says it, like it was bought by the Australian Iraqi.
How dare they buy our land?
But also, was there any shred of evidence that the Australian Iraqi Muslim Society had bought this land?
Yeah,
No,
look, and
there wasn't.
And I think the broader point here is R4 zones. I don't know, this is a bit of a technicality. You can technically build a place of worship on an R4 zone, which I found out from a long chat with the real estate agent. Right. And the Iraqi community is pretty large in Fairfield. There's, as you said, a very diverse community, a very big Muslim population. Islam is the most common religion outside of Christianity in Australia. So let's just say they were going to build a mosque. Let's just say. Right?
Okay, all right.
But it still doesn't warrant the hysteria.
I see exactly what you're saying. And it's funny because it's just like the Channel 7 piece was like, yeah, it was carefully worded. And yeah, it was factual. And the Sky News bit, the Sky After Dark, was unhinged and outraged.
Yeah.
But it lands the same, doesn't it?
Yes.
Like the message is the same. The message is, oh, look at these Muslims. They're building a place of worship in a place where otherwise, good, decent residents of Fairfield might be able to get the residential housing that they very much need.
Yeah.
That's the meaning of this story. So you can craft it in myriad ways, but that's the message that you're trying to get across. And who wears the short end of the stick from that? Like who gets the short end of the stick from all of this? It's the fucking Iraqi Muslims in Fairfield who've done nothing. They're just minding their own goddamn business, and they have this story thrust on them, and they have to now think about, well, first of all, who wrote the fucking letter?
Yeah.
Right? Like, is somebody out here?
This is a very successful disinformation campaign. And you wait, those conversations will be happening for months in the LGA about, mosque,
yeah.
where are we going to park?
Yeah.
And it'll just be...
They have to see the comments on the mayor's Facebook page because,
Yeah.
of course, he's going to put the Sky News interview on his Facebook page. They have to, field all sorts of stuff. And I actually spoke to one of the people that kind of has a volunteer position there at the mosque as public officer, and he said to me, misinformation, I'm just going to read a little bit of the text that he sent to me. He said, misinformation and the circulation of fabricated documents makes people feel someone's out to get them.
Yeah.
There's a real climate of suspicion and fear, as who in their right mind would go falsifying, printing, distributing, and then pushing to the news, which the news readily and light speed puts out in public in a big way.
Yeah.
And like, he's absolutely right.
He's absolutely right. Yeah.
You know, like this, I don't know who wrote the letter. It's entirely possible it was someone like playing a prank, and now this is where it ended up. Or an Islamophobe that wanted to stir all sorts of, you know, division and disquiet, and look where it's ended up with the help of the media. And just in addition, like, I'll just say this very quickly, again, in our text exchange, like, he was like, you know, we're a good community, like, we're an innocent community, we've contributed so much to Australia. And I thought, like, dude, you totally don't have to justify this to me.
Yeah,
you don't have to
horrible.
justify your community and your good actions to me.
Yeah.
It's all good. But the feeling that he had to is something that, like, we're very familiar with, because obviously we're lebs from Bankstown and Marylands, you know. So you constantly feeling like you're having to defend yourself at times where it is utterly unwarranted.
Yeah. And you did mention that Seven took it down. Did they issue an apology?
Not that I've seen.
Or a correction?
I don't think so.
Yeah. And I wonder what Sky
maybe by
News...
the time this streams they have, I don't know, but not I haven't seen.
Yeah,
right. And so,
but anyway, in as we said, the damage has been done.
The damage indeed has been done. But thank you to the legends who reached out to us.
Yes.
And who were like, who can we tell about this story? Who is going to, was it Media Watch on the ABC? No.
Yes. We love it. Okay. Well, this is the point in the show where we give a nod, and my yes goes to...
Can you be a little bit more excited about that, please?
Oh, okay.
You're like, oh, okay, the bit in the show. Here
we give a nod because I tell you why.
Mm.
Because I first have to talk about all of the... It's a complicated yes, because I have to talk about the terrible bigoted coverage from News Corp, who have covered up war crimes, regurgitated debunked propaganda, dehumanized Palestinians, the crap that we've had to see over the past 2 years. So my enthusiasm is not for that. What it is for several Australians who've come together and lodged a racial discrimination complaint to the Australian Human Rights Commission. And they include Australian Palestine Advocacy Network President Nasser Mashni, University of New South Wales Associate Professor Peter Slezak, who is Jewish and is critical of Israel's genocide, and actor Claudia Carvin. There are also 8 other complainants who are referred to using pseudonyms.
Okay.
So just bear with me as I explain it.
Yeah.
These complainants have launched a series of racial discrimination complaints. So there's 4 in total, and it's against News Corp papers, Sky News, as well as more than a dozen of their commentators. And that includes Andrew Bolt and Sharry Markson. It also includes, this is the curious part or the interesting part, social media comments and article comments that add to the racism and hate. Now, traditionally, this can... We now realise that a few years ago, defamation for a news outlet extended to the comments. So if you were ABC or even us, we could potentially be sued for the comments under a Facebook post or whatever. They're testing whether the Human Rights Commission can extend, because their argument is that kind of feedback loop and hysteria and community pile-on adds to the racism. So it'll be testing whether social media has a place and social media comments at the Human Rights Commission.
Mm-hmm.
There are also, as well as, some of their personalities, there are contributing columnists. Like there was one columnist who's a professor who wrote for The Australian, who was essentially arguing that bombing hospitals and collective punishment is okay because it's a military strategy. So they're like, here you are also publishing a columnist who is a professor who is suggesting that you can bomb a hospital because it's a military strategy, okay, guys?
Mm-hmm. Please, God, get to the yes. Get to the strong yes bit.
Well, I think the yes is that the complaints are 2 years in the making.
Right.
They're hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages long. Somebody has done the laborious and soul-destroying task of going through articles and TV segments and found that News Corp figures dehumanized, vilified Palestinians, Arabs and Muslims. The suffering of Palestinians was trivialized. The repeating of stuff like the beheaded babies and the babies in the oven when they knew it was debunked.
Right.
And one complainant told me, we believe News Corp is running a campaign that collective punishment against Palestinians is justified. It's not journalism. This is a propaganda campaign. And so I'm interested to see where this lands. The yes is that the Australian Human Rights Commission has accepted it. So is it the way the process works is somebody files a complaint, the Human Rights Commission says, okay, there are grounds for us to proceed.
Right, okay.
The Human Rights Commission,
because they can reject it. They can say there's actually not enough grounds.
Yep.
But in this case,
they have accepted it.
Yep.
They've accepted that we are going to. Yes, and so I'll continue. And not only will they accept it and investigate, the next step is conciliation. All they can do is conciliate. Can we bring the two parties together and see if they can come to some kind of agreement? That feels unlikely, but once the Human Rights Commission rejects it and says, no, we're not going to, and by rejecting it means we're not going to be able to reach a conclusion here, it means it can proceed to federal court. And so then this will be tried in the federal court. Can we find a court ruling that these people are court-ruled bona fide racists in their coverage of the genocide?
This is a big case.
It's a really big case.
I've not seen... I haven't seen any reporting about it. Maybe I haven't had my antennas out, but has there been much coverage?
Well, there was. Initially, the story was published in SMH and syndicated in The Age and Brisbane Times. And then I could not find any reporting anywhere else other than Michael West News, shout out Independent Media, and Oniswa, the journalism publication
of Sydney
University.
Mm-hmm.
Not the ABC, not SBS, not The Guardian. I actually went and had specifically looked. Of course, News Corp's going to remain tight-lipped. Sherry Markson has put out a tweet, falsely saying that the Human Rights Commission has rejected the application, which it has not. It is proceeding to investigate. But then also said something along the lines of, I will continue, I won't be silenced, and I won't be intimidated or silenced. I'll continue to stand up for what's right, thanks to the support of Sky News. So essentially doubling down. What impact would it have? Hopefully what it might do is give pause for these commentators and outlets who just think that they can do whatever they want when they know it's wrong because no one's going to do anything about it. Because I'm not sure if you saw Erin Molan interviewing Benjamin Netanyahu.
And do you think I saw that?
No. And I wasn't going to bring it up. Because I was like, it is so gross. Erin Molan is also listed in this complaint for some of her work when she was at Sky News.
I always say to Antoinette, this is the fight that Antoinette and I have on a daily basis in doing this show. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes,
I'm always like low-hanging fruit. It's too low.
No,
it's too easy.
I understand.
It's too, and then you're like, no. You're so much more aggrieved by it than I am.
The reason I'm bringing it up is because she is listed in this.
Okay, all right. There's relevancy.
Let me play it to you. This is the end of the interview. This is the end of the interview.
Thank you for everything you do on behalf of all of us who believe in peace, freedom, democracy, and despise terrorism.
Thank you, and I want to thank you for your clarity and courage.
Thank you for blowing up all those babies.
There are some job openings in the BBC. Think they'll take you?
Job openings.
Prime Minister, you could not pay me enough, and I say that as someone who has lost
significant
income in this space.
Laughter.
Yeah. Thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely revolting. Okay, and so yes, the reason I brought that in is because that came out the same week as the Human Rights Commission complaint. What the sorts of repercussions that can be found at court, because I did speak to a lawyer in this area to find out, okay, what are they going to do? They're going to be called racists and nothing's going to happen?
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
It can go further than that. They can seek an enforceable injunction that they can't discriminate against Palestinians, Arabs, Muslims, and Jews critical of Israel. That's actually an enforceable injunction from the court, which they're going to try and test. And they can ask for a financial penalty, which they know will be tiny. Any financial penalty for a behemoth like News Corp is not going to hit where it hurts. But the lawyers and the applicants pursuing this also want to test the strength of our laws. And that, based on how it would go if it gets to federal court, then the next stage would be to push for a stronger penalty.
Yes. Okay.
And go, okay, well, these are insufficient. If people can do all of that and the worst they get is whatever the outcome is, this is not enough. So my yes is the time that's gone into this, the body of work, the horrendous acts of not even journalism, and the fact that maybe
that it's cleared the first hurdle.
Maybe. Yeah, it's cleared the first hurdle, and this is a really exciting watch and see.
Okay. All right. I like that. We turn it around. My yes goes to, so my yes is also going to start as a no. And then it's going to become a yes. No, hang on. I usually do it the other way around. Like I usually, I'm usually like, I can find some good in this world. And then very quickly we descend into a dark place. However, last week, we noticed that an ABC article entitled Nampa Price Pulls Out of Put Australia First Rally Appearance with Far-Right Activist Tommy Robinson. Okay. This article was about the Liberal Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa Price. She'd pulled out of a speaking event that is supposed to happen later this month with Tommy Robinson. For those that don't know, he is like a British far-right activist, provocateur. Yeah. I don't know. The ABC has him listed in there as being a one-time member of a fascist party. Anyway, the story was about her pulling out. However, within the story, we noticed 2 flyers for this talk that were embedded in the body of the story. And when I say 2 flyers, I mean in their full glory. Dates and times and locations and, we've covered this all before. Of the messaging.
That's a no-no.
It's a no-no. It's definitely a no-no. And not only that, it was like taken from somebody's Facebook page that was spruiking these flyers. So they had her comment about how good the rally was going to be. It's just in full.
And I remember seeing on the ABC that they did some good coverage about what not to do when covering the far right, including this.
They've done some coverage. And listen, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on covering the far right. Like
we're learning, and we realised that we'd popped up. We were critiquing.
Yeah, hello, we did the same thing.
Yes.
Like obviously we said this is bad, but we showed all of the details, and then we were told, because we spoke to an expert about
it. Don't do it.
The one thing that you do not ever do when you are covering the far right is quote them verbatim in any way.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
Yeah, that's right. We quoted them verbatim.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Well, we showed their flyer like verbatim. We didn't blur it, or we didn't like paraphrase it or anything. Anyway, so whatever. That's what happened. That's a no.
Okay.
However, the yes.
Okay.
The yes is how I came to notice this in the article, and that was because we had a hot tip sent to us by Antoinette.
Antoinette,
God bless
Etterati.
You. He is our Etterati. And it got me kind of thinking that, oh my God, like people are actually not just listening to our stuff, but then applying it in the real world, right? So they're kind of noticing.
So it's a yes from us because of all of the good work that our Etterati is doing.
So it's a yes from us. Yeah, I think, is this a yes for us? I don't know.
This feels quite self-indulgent. It's a yes for us.
Oh,
no, it's a yes.
And
it's a yes from us for you.
It's a yes from us for you.
You, the Etterati.
Yeah, I love that.
For making us look good.
Yes. And today's yes goes to us. Aren't we fantastic? What a great show. No, but the point is that because sometimes you can, do a show like this and you're not quite sure what the impact is, or if anybody's listening, and then you kind of get this feedback from people who are like, hey, look what I've noticed.
Yeah.
The ABC's done X, Y, and Z and published this thing in full. And you kind of have this moment of like, oh, wow, maybe there is like an impact that you can trace. And the added yes to this was that just at the weekend, I had a conversation with someone who's quite high up at the ABC, kind of like an editorial manager. And what they were saying was that news organizations are considering their audiences now in a way that they never have before, right? Because they're losing them. They can't take their audiences for granted anymore. So they're really thinking about, what do the audience want?
Yes.
What does the audience like? What are they reading? What are they listening to? What are they watching? They're investing in that question. And so the one thing that I would say to the Andrewettes and the rest of the Etterati and anybody else out there listening, when you spot something, obviously complain to us. We love it.
Yeah.
Just hit that Dobber account in the email. Yeah. No problem. We love hearing it. But also, like, tell them.
As in, go straight to the outlets and tell them what you've seen.
Totally. It doesn't have to be like a snarky, stern letter. Like, I honestly think this was an oversight from the ABC. Like, this seems like an oversight. It seems like something that kind of got through. That if somebody drew their attention to it or something, I don't know. If somebody piped up in the newsroom,
they would realise it probably breaches the editorial policy and that we don't do this sort of thing,
right? Like,
and
I don't
take it down.
Exactly. I think they're going to be like, "Oh, cool, okay, yeah, you're probably right. Maybe we should have blurred a couple of details." And then they do, and then because they've had that feedback from someone, and then the action has changed, they just tend to think about it again when it pops up, and then just not do that. So bear in mind that they actually do take your feedback, and when you have it, share it with them. And it doesn't have to be snarky, it doesn't have to be stern, it doesn't have to be bad vibes. It can just kind of be, hey, I've noticed this. I think you should take it down. Have a great day. You know? I think that's the yes.
So it's a yes to our Etterati who are giving us tips, and keep dobbing. We love it.
Keep dobbing.
It's a yes to dobbing. It's a yes to dobbing. But we see that you are looking and watching and applying those media literacy skills.
Yeah.
But after you dob to us,
dob to them.
Go straight to the outlet.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Because it's all for you, baby. You're the audience. You know what I mean? Like, they're doing all of this for you. If they don't have you, they don't have anything. If we don't have you, we don't have a show.
Yeah.
You know? So just realizing that and just feeling good about that, I think is worth it. There you go.
That's nice.
That is nice. That's a hot yes. What a great way to end the show.
That is an excellent way.
Yes.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Please do keep your tips coming. As Jan said, it does keep us going. And don't forget to buy tickets to our live show. We would love to meet you in the flesh if you happen to live on the East Coast, Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane.
And Canberra, please.
And Canberra. And we will be revealing our very special guests very soon. Very exciting.
Yes, we would love to see you all there. We'd love to meet as many of you in person because, damn, we are trying to cut that third-party social media apps out. And this feels like a really, really good way of doing it. So catch you next week and catch you at the live show. Goodbye.
Bye.